Hi, readers. We are back at it again, practicing how to dig a little bit deeper with all those strategies we used and Because of Winn-Dixie and Diamond Daniel. And today I want to talk about how we were able to find patterns when we looked really closely at the things that Opal did and said and the things that she thought. So we would start with an idea that we had about her, and then we would see, does that idea show up more than once? Are things repeated? Is there a pattern? And then we could take our idea plus our pattern and create a theory that could help us maybe understand Opal better or provide us with more information to make deeper predictions. And I started thinking about the things that we had previously learned with Diamond Daniel, and I also started thinking about the newer signposts that we've been learning about. And you've done some work with contrast and contradictions where when a character surprises us, we might ask, like, why are they doing this? Why would the author intentionally make my character surprise me? And I was asking myself, where would our pattern seeking strategies fit? And I think it matches right here with again and again. Why does this keep happening? So I started thinking, about how I know we already found patterns in Opal's behavior, but were there any other areas of repetition? Was there anything that kept happening again and again? And I thought of an example that was really kind of small and an example that was bigger, kind of in the grand scheme of the text. So I'm going to share both of them with you because I want you to know that these again and again signposts, when we take notice of what we're finding that keeps repeating, it can be just like a big piece of the puzzle of our story that kind of is matching the theme. Or it can be just a very little repetition that if we take a closer look at it, it has more meaning than it appears on the surface. So first, I was thinking of something that happened more than once that was kind of a big part of the theme. And I thought about Opal's list of 10, right? That shows up with her mom, and then it shows up with Winn-Dixie. And I thought, why does this keep happening? And it caused me to realize that Opal is fearful of losing something that's close to her in her life. She likes to remember things about them, and she has trouble letting go of them, right? Which was something that showed up over and over and over until almost the very end of the book, where Opal realizes she needs to let her past go. Then I thought of another example, smaller, that shows up again and again, and it's kind of a silly one. It's when Dixie is always smiling, which sometimes he smiles so big he accidentally sneezes, and I thought there can't possibly be meaning behind something so little and silly. But I started thinking about it. When we think of someone being friendly, we think of them, a smile is a good indication that they're a friendly character. And I started thinking about how everyone loved Opal, or everyone loved Winn-Dixie. And because of their love for Winn-Dixie, it actually helped Opal make friends and develop her own life in Naomi since she was new. So I thought probably that was the author's way of showing me that Winn-Dixie is a very friendly character that opened up many doors for our main character, Opal. So, how can we find this signpost in The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane? Just as a reminder of how to use this strategy, it could be something like a word that shows up over and over. It could be a phrase, it could be an object, it could be a situation. And as readers, besides just noticing that something is showing up over and over, we want to ask why, right? Authors do not add things to their story without purpose. So, once we answer that question, it's possible that our answers can help us figure out what is the moral, what is the lesson, what is the theme of this. Maybe it's going to tell us a little bit more about the conflict and the tension that the characters are experiencing. Does it give us a clue as to why that tension is so strong in our character? Or it might be showing us some foreshadowing, which is a really fancy author's word that means they're kind of giving you a heads up of what might be coming later in the story. So I started asking myself, Is there something that's happening again and again? And since we're still kind of practicing these signposts, I thought I would go ahead and help you notice what one of our again and agains is, and then you are going to answer, why do you think it keeps showing up? Look at all these examples that I found of when stars are showing up in the miraculous journey of Edward Tulane. So beyond noticing what object is the again and again, we want to ask ourselves, what else is kind of happening in that story during that time to see if there are patterns. So the first example I found of the stars is when Edward likes to be laid on his side so that he can look at the stars through the cracks in the curtains. And here's how he feels about that. On clear nights, the stars shone, and their pinprick light comforted Edward in a way that he could not quite understand. The next example I could find of stars was this area. It's after Pellegrina has told her story about the princess, and Edward is kind of thinking about that story. In part of that story, Pellegrina describes the beautiful princess as shining as bright as the stars on a moonless night. For some reason, Edward found comfort in these words, and he repeated them to himself, as bright as the stars on a moonless night, as bright as the stars on a moonless night. Then, in the next example I have, this is after Edward has been spending many, many, many days and nights at the bottom of the ocean. So he begins to think. He thought about the stars. He remembered what they looked like from his bedroom window. What made them shine so brightly, he wondered. And were they still shining somewhere, even though he could not see them? Never in my life, he thought, have I been further away from the stars than I am now. Then the next example I have was when Lawrence, the fisherman, discovers him, and he's carrying him home, and he set him on his shoulder, and Lawrence says, there's your North Star right there. Don't never have to be lost when you know where that fellow is. And the last example that I have up until now in our text, I think stars are going to show up more, is when Edward tells us that Lawrence likes to take walks with him. And when he does, he shows him the different constellations in the stars. Here's how Edward feels about it. Edward loved looking up at the stars. And he loved the sounds of the constellation names. They were sweet in his ears. So, now that we know what the object is, your job as a reader is to ask yourself, why does it keep showing up? What might it be telling us about the theme, or the conflict, or maybe giving us clues for what's coming up next?